Well, friends, Deadpool himself has broken his own silence and, formally via his rep, responded to the entire unsealed text message catastrophe hot mess. And for those of us who have been following along, it is predictable, unfortunately. So, let's get into it. Okay, friends, welcome back to Justice for All. I am Aaron Justice, and as stated, Ryan Reynolds has officially broken his silence on the great unsealed text message catastrophe. So, forgive me, all of this just came through. I'm just off the cuffing this, see what happens. Had a few moments between sessions and thought, hey, let's just hop on and talk about it. It's fresh, see what happens. So, might be a little fast and loose, but let's dive in. Ryan Reynolds, quote, "Be kind. If you have someone you appreciate or love, tell them. If there's someone out there you absolutely hate, forgive them. It's another way of winning that nobody ever talks about." What? My bad, guys. I'm so sorry. I don't know how that got in there. That's an Instagram post from who the hell cares, because it's clearly BS. Because here's what he really said. Yes, Ryan got involved. What husband wouldn't support his wife and the mother of his children? He feels like he wasn't angry enough. He stands by defending Blake and believes in the basic right to a safe workplace free of harassment and retaliation for his wife and others, then, now, and always. Okay. Sounds good, right? Yeah, those are nice words. If you're going to completely disregard all of the facts and the statements and the text messages and independent reporters and journalists on social media and everything that the sleuthing has uncovered, if you're just going to completely dismiss everything and put out a nice guy statement, yeah, this is a pretty solid one. But it's not at all what we're talking about or dealing with here. And this is an insult of a statement, because it specifically doesn't address any of the public's concerns, and it is the public that ultimately writes his paycheck. And that's pretty important, considering that in the past 2 days, there has been just an absolute storm of conversations, words, and, social upheaval, really, in regards to this man's reputation and the things that he has said and done. Now, regarding that, it's important to look at one thing. The journalists covering bits of Hollywood gossip and drama, Puck, released a piece talking about how there were people in Ryan's life, people that were close to him, even including other A-listers, who tried to warn him. They tried to stop him. They tried to tell him to leave this alone, like, hey, yo, this is bad. It's a lose-lose for you, no matter what. This is not good. And you've already dug yourself a certain number of feet into the grave, and you really might want to think about stopping before you bury yourself. They even considered staging an intervention, like people do with friends and family members that are suffering from addictions and compulsive behaviors, which could be fitting here. But it doesn't seem it stuck, or that he listened, because he has since gone on to exemplify, let's call it curious, worrying words and behaviors that, quite frankly, are representative of a man who has some very serious emotional wounds and mental and emotional instability. Now, this was also spoken about in all of the flurry of messages and talk that was going around in Hollywood and around online, which is Ryan Reynolds has been open in the past about his battles and his struggles with his lifelong pal anxiety. And it's hard not to be sympathetic towards that, or in my case, even empathetic, as I've had my lifelong struggles with that as well. And so many people, millions struggle with this every single day. And in the past, when A-lister Deadpool Ryan Reynolds spoke about this, it was very uplifting and inspirational for people. It was taking a moment out to say, hey, this issue that we haven't really spoken about, and we kind of tiptoe around because there's a stigma around it. If this guy, the big, A-list movie star, is coming out and talking about it, then maybe we don't feel so alone or marginalized. And maybe we can start having these conversations as well, and all coming together to try to understand what is happening in the worlds of anxiety, panic disorders, depressive disorders, and start including everyone in a circle based on, hey, we all have to heal together. But that's going to be a tough sell on people now for obvious reasons. And this is where the conversation turns and gets a little more interesting. So I'm going to put a pin in anxiety right now, and I'll come back around to it, because I also want to take a look at the question we've been asking. Ryan Reynolds, he's still pushing the SH, possibly SA narrative, the predatory behavior on behalf of Baldoni. He's still acting in accordance with that narrative. And so here, we got to ask the question once again. What does Ryan actually think about this? Because there's also been a lot of speculation, which I brought up as well, that did Balake catch feelings? Did she catch feelings on set? And either Ryan found out about it, or he saw the dailies and he was like, yo, what is going on over here? Or he went through her phone, classic phone go through, and read the text messages where Balake is talking about the ball busting being juicy and fruity, or whatever she said, talking about ball busting never with teeth. And oh, God help us. What happened? Is he a husband scorned? And Balake, in an effort to cover her own mistakes, has started this lie, this narrative that this man did something to her, either on set or set adjacent in a work environment, rehearsals or something of that nature. Or is he, like it seems most, or at least many of us are thinking, is he part of this? And now he knows. And this is true, by the way, but he knows. He's already committed. He has to go. He has to go full throttle. He has to go full Deadpool. He's got to go all in, because he's in too deep now. Because if he stops, and his reputation is already this far in the ground, then it's just going to make it look, choose any number of weak masculinity terms. Not to mention, it's also going to look like, especially since public opinion is so high, that, hey, they were wrong, they were lying, they were scheming the whole time, and the public was right. Justin wins, court of public opinion, and they lose out. If that's the case, that's a very steep fate. But if he goes all in, what hand is he holding on to? Because the only way that I see anything playing out here well for them is if, by some weird, strange reason, they are holding on to a smoking gun, Hail Mary, a trump card that they're biding their time and waiting till the right time in court to throw down and say, bam, gotcha, sucker. And prove to everyone once and for all, we're the good guys. Is that going to actually happen? Let's just say, if that happened, and there is a possibility, if that happened, I would be more shocked by that than anything else that's come out during this whole catastrophe. Is that going to happen? Do they have a trump card hidden up the sleeve, just waiting for the opportune moment to throw it down, flip the table, win the game? No. Why? Because if they had one, they would have played it. February of 24. Remember, there's all of the bad press for her and the Betty Boos and all the hair products and whatnot. And then they're trying to say that, oh, Justin smear campaign, da-da-da. It all builds up. And it starts to go over in public opinion. People start to forget about it a little bit because you slip into the holidays. The movie comes and goes like movies do. And people get back to their lives. And then bam, Blake drops the suit. And so, for a month, all the public opinion begins to sway back. Even T Swift herself is saying, fastest Uno reverse on a cancellation ever. And then Justin drops receipts, one after another. Boom, boom, bam. And of course, they come back and try to shoot those down verbally, but they don't really bring the receipts of their own. And they keep saying, oh, we have it, we have it. And it seems like they're scavenging for Jenny Slate, Isabella Ferreira, different people, Brandon Scanar. And they keep saying they have a smoking gun is coming. And then a whole bunch of nothing. Kind of like all of these unsealed text messages that are using the words, talking about Baldo, talking about his behavior. Oh, he's a monster, he's a pig, But if you notice, Brandon, Scanar, Jenny Slate, they never actually state outright, he is this because this happened. He is this because he did this. He is this because he said this. All we have, which Judge Lyman also reacted to, is, you mean you're here in my federal court because of a lean-in, nuzzle and a kiss, and a falling in love romantic scene between the director, actor, and lead actress, romantic interest? That's why we're here. If they had it, they would have played it then. Why? What's the psychology behind this? Why would they wait? When you're driven by ego, in that egoic consciousness is driving everything that you think, feel, say, do. As has been stated, Ryan cannot stand the thought of his or his wife's reputations, the reps, being tarnished in any way. That is what is channeling and churning up this anxiety for him. Remember what Scarlett Johansson said after the divorce from him. She didn't drop names, but she said, sometimes when you have two competitive, talented people in the same industry, same business, and one of those people is doing far better than the other one, it causes some situations, conversations, conflict. And see, at that time, she was really one of, and still is, one of the biggest female actresses, movie stars in the world. In fact, with all the Marvel stuff she's doing, she is one of the top earners as far as the money that she brings in her film choices. And coincidentally is now working with Wayfarer Studios. Side note. But at that time, Ryan Reynolds was underneath in the Green Lantern debacle, a mess of a movie that nearly cost him his career and may have cost him his marriage, since that is the chaotic mess where he met Balake. It's kind of fitting, isn't it? Poetic. Especially since both of them had significant others on the outside. Interesting. The one thing that people who live and breathe by the ego cannot stand is someone speaking in terms of the identity that they work so hard to project out into society for other people, the mask, the persona. That is a key factor in what is driving both of them. Now, I'm going to speak later and do a separate video on Balake and this whole, did she catch feelings? What was the motive for why she was doing this? And I'm not saying that I have answers. I'm just going to take a look at what we see psychologically. Also going to do another video on Ryan Reynolds and his text messages and what they show about this and anxiety and something called the father wound. That's coming up. But to leave this, do they have the trump card coming? No. They wouldn't risk burying their reputations, their business, their brand under that much scrutiny, that much criticism for this long, just to throw a trump card in the end. Because at this point, no matter what happens, even if they did somehow come on top and ruin Justin, their reputations are harmed forever, the rest of their lives. I'm not saying that they will never work again. That's a whole separate subject and something people in the industry are talking about, according to Puck. But this is the catastrophe of a lifetime career-wise. Look at Deb V. Heard. Johnny Depp coming out of Pirates of the Caribbean, blah. Dude was unstoppable that time. He was one of the biggest actors in the world, one of the most, and nobody would have thought the box office poison of the 90s would be one of the highest grossing and paid actors in all of Hollywood. But one good mainstream role can do that. Until scandal. And Hollywood doesn't like a scandal because of what we talked about in a previous video. They want to protect the show. And so this is going to haunt them. It's going to follow them around, regardless of how all of this plays out. That's already over. They wouldn't have risked that. No. This, for Ryan Reynolds, this is his stand at the bow of the Titanic. Only he's the captain, not Leo and Kate. He's the captain that goes down with the ship. He's staking his claim and saying, I've gone all in. I'm the man. I'm the captain of this ship. And if it's going down, I'm going down with it. Meanwhile, all of the other people that they tried to rope into this, they're all running for the lifeboats. They're all jumping over. Brandon Sklenar's over in the corner trying to put on heels and a cocktail dress for the boats. Ryan Reynolds is left saying, no, boys, keep the violins going. We're going down. This is an all-nighter. This is him taking a stand and saying, I pushed all in on this. There's no backing down. There's no giving up. We're going all the way. And that question is, does he think that he is righteously doing it? Or what's this final option? Is Ryan Reynolds even more involved than what has been realized here? Because remember, when all this started coming out, he kind of tried to distance himself and say, oh, he wasn't really involved, he supports his wife, but he didn't have anything to do. Well, that went out the window. This entire statement here opens up with, yeah, about that. It's kind of involved, big time involved. Talking about grown men drinking dum-dum juice. It's very involved. How involved? Was he acting in accordance with the narrative that he believed? Blake, or was he a mastermind behind this the entire time? Whether it was his or Blake's idea, did they want the female franchise equivalent of his Deadpool? Because with the international best-selling IP, this had the potential to be massive. And as we've seen, even with all of the bad press, and maybe because of it to a degree, the movie did incredibly well, especially considering you've got, basically, other than Jane the Virgin, a mostly unheard of director, lead actor. Brandon Sklenar, we only know him from 1823, first 2 seasons, whatever. It did well. And as people have stated, all they had to do was walk away. Don't put a man and his family in the basement at his own film premiere. How dare you? Not gonna get heated. Nobody puts director in the basement. Regardless of what you think, there are conflicts on almost every set. It's what some people don't realize. It's like, yeah, because of the show, these people, these stars, you don't ever hear them say anything bad in the press, right? Oh, it was so delightful working. Oh, it was so... People in and around the industry know the truth. There's almost always at least one diva, not to mention creative people who are coming in, going at it 14 hours a day, sometimes hungry, sometimes on little sleep, sometimes in just horrendous conditions. It happens. Happens a lot. But the things that happen on this set, well, that's a different conversation. Ryan Reynolds, was he behind it all? Or was he fooled? Mastermind. Patsy. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. You guys are dropping amazing comments. I'm going to try to get back to them as soon as I can. Thank you for watching. Thank you for writing comments and liking, taking the time. It does mean the world. I appreciate you. And the intelligence and the depth and the insight you guys are bringing to this comment section over this situation is it helps restore the hope that this situation is causing people to lose. So thank you for showing up, for being people that want to stand for truth and justice for all. Thanks for watching. See you next one.